Welcome to Overcome Yourself, the podcast, where we rewrite stories, shift mindsets, and make dreams come true. I'm your host, Nicole Tuxbury. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. I usually say hello there, and I said hi today, and it was weird. But anyway, welcome to the next episode of Overcome Yourself. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm so excited to be here today with Tracey. And Tracey, well, go ahead, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and who you help.
Sure. I'm a brain-based coach and business consultant, and I help healthcare-based businesses find purpose and business on purpose so that you can build a business that you don't need kind of a vacation from. The irony is that my approach, although it's business, it kind of always comes down to the behavior of the person, the thinking, the skills, and the behavior of the individual that's going to drive the results. So I help people get clear on the phase of life that they're in and what is going to give them the most connection and purpose for that phase of life.
I love that so much. And one of the things that you do is you mentioned this, you help bring clarity. And I noticed that one of the things that you said that you do is helping people like establish what their goals are. And we know that that's actually a lot harder than it looks on the surface, right? And I think the reason for that is so many people, and you can let me know if I'm on the right track here, but we get so lost in our rut, in our routine, in the day-to-day. And especially as women, we're so focused on making sure that everybody else is okay and they've got their activities and they've got their rides and they've got food and they're like surviving, you know? And then we forget what we want. And when someone asks us, well, what's your goal? And you're like, well, to make sure that the laundry is put away, to make sure dinner gets on the table by 6 p.m. They're like, no. Like, yeah, you do that, but what do you want? And so can you like talk to us a little bit about that and how we can find that clarity, like get back to what do we want?
Sure. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you spoke about getting into a rut. Because I mean, if I think back over the course of my life, I mean, we're on the Overcome You podcast, and I was fully prepared to have the "How have you overcome yourself?" question, and I think it fits in quite nicely now. Because if I ask myself what I want now, it is completely different to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, it has adapted as I've adapted. And what we want is it never happens in isolation. It happens in a system. It happens in a family unit, in an economic unit, in a political unit, right? There's all of these influences that can get us to the point where we think we know what we want and we blindly pursue that. And whether we achieve it or not, with external forces, what can end up happening is that things change. And at every change, when you start, if you have a developmental life change or the political system changes or your business crashes, then it's this big, like chaotic wake up call, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do with the next step? But what you don't realize is that it's always in flux. You're constantly in a state of change. If you think of you were speaking about the kind of mom who has to get the family on track and get the laundry packed away and get everything sorted and everyone doing what they need to do. I mean, the problem there is, where are you in that family unit? If your desire, if what you want, if your goal is to be like the A-class mother that you never had, to be there for your family in a way where you never experienced it, so it's almost like a way of giving back to yourself, growing and developing yourself, then all of those activities are going to look and feel different when you're looking and saying, well, this is how I spend my time, right? So you can do exactly the same thing. So take a stay-at-home mom taking care of a family of 4. you can have two different, right? Exactly the same conditions, same economic situation, same kind of family style in life. One mom can approach that from the mindset of, I had to give up my career so that I could do this, and that existence is going to be less colorful. And then another mom can approach it from the mindset of, this is fulfilling my highest purpose. I am like the most fulfilled being the best mother I can be. This is how I want to spend my time. This is how I want to spend my life. And their experience is going to be so much more positive. So at the end of the day, it's all relative. And when you're looking for the thing that's going to give you purpose, the thing that's going to make you happy, the thing that's going to make a difference, you need to understand what you're bringing to the table, because you can't set a goal unless you can understand, how does that goal fit in with me, my needs, my wants, and very often my subconscious stuff that I'm carrying.
Mhm. Yes. And even when we're not necessarily moms, because I'm not a mom yet, but
Mm-hmm.
we still have other responsibilities, other things that we put, make sure mom is good, make sure, you go visit grandma, make
Yeah.
sure my friends are taken care of. Like, we have so many demands on us.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that sometimes, like, habits and having our routines are not important, because they are,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not all there is.
Yeah.
In my book, one of my chapters is about success.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'd be writing about, like, success and having a big house. But when you get down to the root of it, it's none of those things, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
so dependent on us and, our wants, our desires, things. But then if we put our identity in those things, in those seasons,
Mm.
then success is going to feel even further away. Because, like, if your identity, if your whole idea of success is being a good mom and being there for your kids, what happens when they move out? Or
Mm-hmm.
if your whole identity is in being the CEO and I'm successful because I put my whole career, and then you hurt yourself and now you can't go to work.
Yeah.
Or, something happens, your industry happens to collapse, like, you were in newspapers and then you didn't adjust it. There's stuff that
Mm.
can happen, right? But if your whole identity of success is in any of those things, what happens when that thing goes away? Because, like you
Yeah.
said, everything is always changing.
Yeah.
And so, at the root of it, what is success? Well, it's doing those things well and in the season that they are. Because
Mm.
you're not gonna be an employee forever. You're not gonna be a business owner forever. You're not gonna be like a stay-at-home mom forever,
Yeah.
right? Because things change. So,
But
what are
the
your thoughts on
success
that?
is tough.
Yeah,
Success is flippin' tough
yeah,
to quantify, because we
yeah.
don't know. Success for
Mm-hmm,
us is usually something that we want to try and achieve. So we're
mm-hmm.
at point A, and success for us is point B. But success is usually a consequence of doing something. And unless we can figure out, what do I need to
Yeah,
be doing so that I feel like I'm successful, it's not something you can hit. It's like, it's this
right.
absolute obsession of people currently. I want, my plan or my goal is to be happy. And I mean, that is a very surefire way to make yourself very unhappy, because
Yeah.
happiness is a consequence of doing things that bring you joy, of doing things that are meaningful. It's not something like, okay, pursue happy. Okay, how am I going to be happy? Let's play music. Let's see if that does it. It's a consequence. So when we're trying to define success for individuals, and I mean, I need to take it to the business space just because that's kind of my wheelhouse. One of the very first things I do with business owners in that first meeting that we have, where we're exploring the way forward together, I want to understand, what is the goal, right? And we can call that, what does success look like to you? Or we can call it, what is the goal? What is the outcome? What is it that you want to achieve that you don't have now, that you feel that this is going to be a culmination? This is going to be kind of what you really want to bring about. Because unless you're very clear on where you are right now, so what is this current situation and what is that desired outcome, or what that future situation is, there's no way that you can make progress. Now, if you want to experience more success, you need to know, what is my starting point? what do I want to try and bring about? And then you can start testing things to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. Are you getting closer? Is it getting you further away? But ultimately, it's always going to be a dance. You think in the business world, business is easy. Business is actually very easy from start. It follows a predictable pattern. There are predictable activities that you need to do. The thing that usually makes business difficult is our discipline or our approach or the way we think about things. So we think that we know things, but we don't really. So we take the wrong actions or behaviors because we think we've got the solutions when actually we don't. So it's more, it's not so much a case of we don't know how to get there. It's a case of we think we know, but we don't really. So yeah, I think it all sounds simple. It sounds fairly straightforward on paper, but it is different for every person. One thing that I've seen big time and I don't know if this is just a social shift, political shift, economic shift, but what I'm seeing more and more of is the business clients that I'm bringing. They're sharing, I want to be successful. And when you kind of get into that, okay, what is success? No, it's more money. Okay, how much more money? It's so much more money. If I hit this amount of money, then I'm going to be financially free and I'm going to be less stressed. But when you really dig into, okay, so what is having that money going to give you that you can't have now? People aren't able to answer because sometimes the priorities, we think that we need to earn more money, but earning more money is just going to add more complication. It's going to add more stress. It's going to mean more work. And sometimes, and I've seen this more and more, I have had business owners or practice owners where they want to be more family orientated. They actually want to be more successful so that their family, they can have a stronger quality family life. But, working 60-hour weeks is, that's a complete contradiction to that value. So, understanding your values is way up there. If you don't know if you don't have a direction or you're not sure what you want, or you're kind of floating aimlessly about, which I've spent time in my life doing, it's a horrible place to be. One of the first ways to get a little bit more direction is to understand, what are my values? What are the things that I do that gives me the greatest satisfaction? And what is behind what I'm doing that generates that for me?
Yes. You touched on something really, really important. Another chapter from my book. Like, I love this. Just you're right on the money, right? But talking about happiness and how I realized, I learned that I had to stop trying to be happy. I
Yeah,
wasn't chasing happiness anymore because I realized that happiness it happens in your brain. It's a chemical reaction, right?
yeah,
So you get these feel good chemicals, not from outside, but just the internal reactions, and then
yeah,
you feel happiness. And so
yeah,
in understanding that, I realized, well, it's actually physically impossible to be happy all the time, because if we're happy all the time, then it becomes neutral. Like we
yeah,
don't feel it anymore. And so I
yeah,
was like, okay, if I'm not looking for happiness, what am I looking for? Right.
mm-hmm.
And what I discovered, what I went down to the root is, it's a state of being versus doing. And
Yes,
it's joy. It's learning to live in joy. And joy is a perspective versus an emotion. Right. And then, like, choosing that joy, and it boils down to gratitude, right? And
yeah,
learning to practice gratitude, because otherwise, it's all empty. We're just chasing the next thing. We're not content. We're not in the moment. We're not appreciating. And so it's
mm-hmm.
always like, oh, I had that when I was 20, like, and I didn't even know how good I had it. Oh, when I was 25, I didn't know how good I had it. Well,
Yeah,
what if we realize right now, you don't know how good you have it right now? Do you want to look back in 10 years and be like, oh man, it was so good and I didn't even enjoy it while I
yeah,
was there? Well, what if we
yep,
stop doing that and be like, you know what? 45-year-old me, 55, 85-year-old me is going to look back and be like, you finally figured it out and you got to enjoy it while it was happening.
yeah,
And so freeing myself from trying to be happy and really learning to live in joy and contentment while still striving, still having
Yeah.
goals, but it's more about being in that versus trying to do. Because when you're
Yeah.
doing, you reach the goal and then you look around and you're like, now what? I made the money, I got the house, and this is a common theme on this show. People are
Yeah.
like, I had the money, I got my dream house, I lived in my dream place, I went on a dream vacation, and then what? And I
Yep.
realized it was right.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that for people. I want you to live in joy. And that was part of my journey, was really learning to enjoy the journey, not
Yeah.
dragging myself through life, but having fun, like living, like really living life to the fullest and enjoying it. So I don't know. I said a lot of stuff. So what does that bring up for you?
There's two things that immediately come to my mind. I think the
Okay.
first was that the longest documented study on happiness, I think it was Harvard that did it, and they did it over like 2 or 3 generations.
Wow.
And the results of that study was, when they asked people what was the difference between having a quality life and not having a quality life, 10 out of 10 times it was about connection. It was about the quality of your relationships, not the number of your relationships. It's the quality of your relationships. So the danger that we're at, I believe, is that we become too self-centric. Not
Hmm.
self-centered, not selfish. We become so focused on ourselves that we forget that a big part of what makes us work and work well is very good connections with other people, right? I mean, when you're going off and doing the wrong thing, you would, if you have close family members, if you have friends, this is support for you, right? When you get ideas that are awful or wonderful, it's through these shared experiences, it's through the quality of our connections that we can find a deeper sense of purpose. It makes it much easier when you see yourself as, I'm part of something bigger than myself. When your question is, there's something wrong with me, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, it's very difficult, because when you only focused on yourself, you look at yourself out of context. You look at yourself out of the context of your life. I have a version of myself that goes to work. I have a version of myself that is a parent to my daughter. I have a version of myself that sees friends, that is in public life, that votes, that, you're more than just this one thing, right? It's quite complex.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's not, you think, I said two things come. So the first is quality of
Yes.
relationships, being the most important factor into whether people said I had a quality life. The second thing is the god awful impact that the instant gratification is having. So think of the instant gratification of online shopping, massively
Mm-hmm.
addictive, very, very bad for us, and even doom scrolling. The problem is that we never feel boredom. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We can hide in these activities that give us these bursts of the brain chemicals. So literally, it's like little reward pops of rewards. We can get so completely off track that by the time we start seeing the consequences of being disconnected with ourselves and with others, it's actually a much bigger problem, because we've kind of numbed ourselves with all of these things that superficially fit on and make you think that things are okay for a lot longer than they are. So those were the two things that popped up. The one was how important it is to have connections with other people and stay rooted to that reality, present in your life. That was a big thing that you mentioned, was that awareness of myself in the moment. This is the moment that I have. I don't have a future. The past doesn't dictate anything anymore for me. So this is really what I need to make the best of. And then that second is hiding when things are wrong, never experiencing boredom. I mean, I think you might still be a bit young, but before all of the social media and stuff, and you'd come home from school, there's none of this scrolling, and you sit there, you'll be
Go play
bored.
outside.
You'll be bored to a point, and then you'll start coming up with things
Yes.
to entertain yourself. And
Hmm.
just doing those things have an impact on your self-efficacy. Am I able to see to myself? Can I care for myself? Can I entertain other people? Do I need to take up a hobby? It cuts us off from, I think, a lot of experimenting that we've disconnected from, which I do not think is a healthy thing.
Yeah, I think we have to be very intentional. Just like with everything, like there's just so many things vying for our attention, and being really intentional about rest. So like
Yep.
putting down the phone and actually resting, getting sun, connecting with the earth, like going to the beach, going to the park, connecting with other people.
Yeah.
And I think what's really important about that too is to create like long-lasting, genuine connections with people. You got to be healthy up here.
Oh yeah.
Because if you don't get along with you, like people can't put up with you long term, not because they don't want to. And I
Yeah.
know from experience, because I was the bad, I was the bad vibe, right? Woe is me, everything's happening to me, blah blah blah. Like stuff was hard. I dealt with like my
Yeah.
mom passing away when I was one. I had got a back accident, and like I had a lot of other death, and there was a lot that did happen to me. But then I had to learn how that's what led me to realizing, if I'm gonna be stuck on earth, if I'm gonna be stuck on this earth with all of
Mm.
this tragedy, how can I enjoy it? How can I still have fun? Like, am I allowed
Yeah.
to feel joy even though I've experienced all of this not joy?
Yeah.
And finding grace and finding forgiveness and finding yourself here, because like I said, it's so in the beginning we were talking about the rut.
Mm.
And it's so easy to get stuck in just the monotony of it all and just doing the same thing over and over. And then you look up one day and you're like, where did my 20s go? Where did my 30s
Mm-hmm.
go? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what leads to like midlife crisis and things. But what if we just got to enjoy it? What if we got to, have fun? And that's why gratitude is such an important thing for me. Like it's one of the
Yeah.
main factors of my book. I also talk about habits because like I said, we do need kind of like like certain steady things, right? Like you got to get up and brush your teeth, you got to wash your clothes, you got to make sure that the dishes are done, and you got to do a lot of boring things that are not necessarily going to bring you happiness. But
Yeah.
among all of those things, where's the joy? Where's the sparks? Where's what you do for you? The color, painting, learning a language, cooking for the pleasure of it
Yeah.
versus just to have some veggies. Um,
Absolutely.
you know, yeah.
I think it's David Rock. He wrote. He coined the term neuroscience. And one of the things when I was doing the course to be a neuroscience-based coach was he brings up the healthy mind platter, and this has kind of stuck with me because it's talking about having that variety. And this is another risk in that, when we're business owners, we can be 90% obsessed with business related only. Or if we realize, oh my goodness, I've put on too much weight and now I need to lose the weight, I need to get healthy, then 90% of our focus will be on, it's almost like projects. It'll be on one specific thing that will get the majority of our focus, our time, our effort, and our energy. But I think for health, for healthy living, there needs to be, people call it balance, and I hate balance because when I think of balance, I think of like balancing on a tightrope. And I think that would be the last place I would want to be, is trying to walk this very thin line where if I go too much this side, I'm going to like die. And if I go too much that side, I'm going to die. So balance for me is like a bit of I think it's a lie. But it is about having about variety. So the very same as for healthy living, you physically need a varied diet. I think for your emotional health, you need a varied emotional health diet. You need a healthy self-esteem. You need healthy activities. You need healthy relationships. You need healthy pursuit of contributing to society, whether that's being a business owner, whether it's being an employee, whether it's being an artist. But I do think you need to be involved in you need to have the platter rather than just that one thing, because when one thing goes wrong, your life is over. It's like everything sucks because I have to be the best business person in the world, but my business is losing money. That means I'm a total failure. What am I got going for me?
Hmm. Yeah, and it's so true. And it is so easy for us to get stuck in that, because then like you're like, oh, my business, blah, blah, blah. But then you go to a birthday party and you're like stressing. And then you go out to dinner and you're like stressing and you're not
Yeah,
there. You're
yeah,
not in those moments. You're snappy, like, and it's about like we have to learn to enjoy all the phases. So, it's not great right now, but you know what? Like just with everything else, just like the cycles, just like the seasons, something will happen. Something will come
yep,
up because it's mathematically impossible to just keep
yep.
going down. Like it has to keep going. And so I like to remind myself, like when I was at a stop sign one day and I was like, oh, this is taking so long. And then I had to like really have like a come to Jesus moment. And I was like, Nicole, it is mathematically impossible for you to be stuck at this stop sign forever. Maybe for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, but forever, no. It can't
Yeah,
be. So and so that helped me chill out so I could keep going on my drive.
yep.
No, but I love that because it's so true. We have balance. We have some rice, we have some meat, we have some veggies, we have some salad. And you know what? The salad's not good. We throw it out, but we still have veggies and rice and meat that we can eat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Now, Tracey, how can we stay in touch with you?
Well, on the anyone can find me on
Love
superclinicproject.com.
it.
On that, at that resource, there's a bunch of different things you can do there. You can book a direct call with me, 30 minutes for free, or you can join our school group, and that is going to help people build sustainable businesses, really focused on the marketing side, how to have a marketing strategy and kind of get organized service-based business. Or they can check out the podcast. So that's also around building healthy business. So really superclinicproject.com to book with me. Otherwise, I'm all across social media as well. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I try to stay away from Facebook because, Facebook and me aren't big friends. I'm very aware of how things look and the reality, and I'm the kind of like quirky person that I want to show you in my pajamas, with my hair a mess, and but that doesn't go down well. So yeah, there's some.
No worries. But LinkedIn, you said LinkedIn is like your spot. Cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. And so final tip, like based on everything we've talked about today, what's like your biggest, best tip that you've got for your clients?
So it's gonna hurt. Staying stuck hurts, and
Yes.
moving hurts. You
Yes.
just have to choose the pain that's best for you, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Unfortunately, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because if you can do that, there is nothing that can get in your way.
Yes. Um, that parallels a story that I tell. I don't know if you've read it. I've talk about it, but when I went to the doctor and he told me, because I had a boat accident when I was like 9, and then nobody believed that my back hurt, and I finally went to the doctor when I was 21 and got an X-ray, and he's like, "You have the back of a disabled elderly woman. If you don't retire from working in restaurants," I was a server, I was carrying heavy trays. He said, "You're gonna be in a wheelchair in less than 5 years. Like you're
Yeah.
not gonna walk. Like it's over." And so in that moment, after I cried it out, because obviously
Hmm.
that was tough, but
Hmm.
I had to choose. Am I going to choose the hard of physical therapy and strengthening my back and doing all the things that I have to do? Or am I going to choose the hard of just wearing my back down all the way until I can't use my legs anymore, and then I'll just be stuck in a wheelchair, and then that's gonna be hard too. So which
Yeah.
hard are you gonna choose, Nicole? And I went with the immediate hard
Yep.
instead of the delayed hard. I was like, let me do it now because I'm younger, and if I wait, I'm gonna be older. It's gonna hurt even worse. But
Yeah.
it's choose your hard. So it is gonna be hard. You're so right. Because I don't like the toxic positivity. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to be honest. There's gonna be storms. Shit's gonna happen. So what
Hmm.
are we gonna do to be prepared? And how can we survive in joy and thriving and healthy happiness? So yes, I love it. Thank you so much, Tracy. This has been wonderful.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you for being here. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you on the next episode. We'll catch you next time on the next episode. I don't know why I'm so twisted up today. We'll catch you next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself. Bye. Thanks again for tuning in to Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Stay bold, stay grateful, and keep becoming your best you. For more information and resources from me, Nicole, head over to nicoletexberry.com/resources. See you next time.